Welcome to the show, everyone. Tonight, we will recap the thrilling action from July 20th all the way up to tonight, July 29th, 2026. In the episode ahead, we will break down a historic stretch of racing across the United States. We start in the grassroots dirt tracks of northern Ohio, highlighting the fierce regional rivalries at Attica Raceway Park and Fremont Speedway. From there, we hit the national sprint car circuits, detailing Giovanni Scelzi's 100,000 to win high limit racing triumph at Port Royal and David Gravel's World of Outlaws dominance in New York. We then turn to the asphalt for NASCAR's dramatic return to the oval at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and we'll cover Corey Heim's shocking Brickyard 400 upset, Todd Gilliland's $1 million in-season challenge victory, and conclude with a technical breakdown of the next-gen car's aerodynamic controversies, along with our friend Jason Schweitzer, here with an Indy recap. I'm Russ Fritz.
And I'm Nathan Johns.
We tell you to put that visor down, get those tear-offs ready, because this isn't just racing.
This is Switching Grooves.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Before we get going, Nathan, I do want to give a huge shout out to our friend Philip over at Astronics. Catch his show on YouTube. Every race he does a recap. Great content over there. Philip, thank you for giving us a shout out. And everyone, go catch Philip on Astronics YouTube channel live after every race. So let's bring in Jason, Nate.
All right.
What's up, Jason?
Hey guys, good evening.
So,
oh man, it's been a while.
It has been a while. I was gonna say, how, as our local, as our resident Indiana guy, how was the racing this weekend for you? I heard you were at the track.
Yeah, so I went to the track 3 days in a row. On Friday, I watched 2 races. Saturday, I watched the O'Reilly, and then Sunday, I watched the Cup race. Wish the Brickyard was more exciting, but yeah.
Did you have a favorite race of the weekend?
Mine would have to be, it's a toss-up between the trucks and the O'Reilly series.
That's understandable. The Cup series kind of left me desiring more, I feel like.
The car sucks.
Oh,
I agree.
Yeah, I was a little bummed by that race. I kind of expected a little bit more excitement. Towards the end, it was exciting, but really the middle part kind of left me, kind of starved of entertainment. It was a little boring. We'll discuss about the race itself a little later, probably.
Sounds good.
Well, I tell you what, it must have been a busy weekend for you for being at all 3 of those all weekend long, man. But
I still can't fathom that.
Fun. I bet it was a lot of fun, though.
It was a lot of sacrifices, and it was a lot of fun. I got probably about 8 hours of sleep throughout the whole weekend because the excitement behind every one of them.
That's awesome.
I probably got about 10 hours of sleep the whole week of Speed Week, traveling from pulling the camper and everything. Man, I tell you what, it was fun though. I enjoyed it. I definitely want to do it again.
Yeah, I would definitely like to check out Ohio Speed Weeks one of these days. go out there for a week like you did, Russ, this past year?
I wish it was a bigger series though. Nothing against the All Stars, but I wish there was more of the national guys in along with it.
I wish I could say I had time to travel the Western Pennsylvania one because they are within reasonable driving distance. I never have. I could probably be at the furthest track within an hour, or no, maybe an hour and a half. I think Pittsburgh is the farthest one I'd have to go to for that. It's really not that hard to hit them all because they're all within the general area. It's all on one highway. But I think Russ's is a little bit more impressive than the one we would go to. That's an entire state. They have 2 different series out here.
But anyway, I guess we should probably get going. So I'll start off and get all my dirt stuff out of the way because I know you guys will actually chit chat really, really well between the two of you about NASCAR because I didn't watch a bit of it this weekend. Really, I
watched a little dirt with you,
and I watched some highlights and stuff like that, but I don't have much. I've been working and all kinds of crap, so it's
directing.
been a tough week. But so for racing enthusiasts situated in Northern Ohio, the late July schedule provides unparalleled access to some of the nation's premier regional dirt track racing. Geographically nestled directly between Fremont Speedway to the northwest and Attica Raceway Park to the south, Northern Ohio serves as a nexus to the Attica Fremont Championship Series, or AFCS. The regional economy and cultural heartbeat of the Route 20 and Route 19 corridors are intrinsically linked to the health of these 2 dirt ovals. The events of Friday, July 24th at Attica Raceway Park perfectly encapsulated the high-stakes nature of this regional rivalry and the mechanical versatility required to conquer the local clay. So the July 24th program at Attica Raceway Park, it actually delivered a masterclass in slide job execution and late race tire management across its 3 premier divisions. The track additions were demanding, featuring the classic treacherous Attica cushion that forces drivers to balance momentum against the constant threat of the outside retaining wall on the front stretch. In the 410 sprints, well, operating under the Callie's Performance Products banner this week, Bryce Lucius secured a thrilling victory. And this actually marked his 2nd consecutive win following a highly publicized triumph at the Brad Doty Classic the week prior. Starting from the outside of the front row, Lucius controlled the first 25 laps of the 30-lap feature back in the number 32 machine. But however, as the track took rubber and lap traffic became a critical factor, Chris Andrews executed a daring pass to lead laps 26 and 27. The 2 drivers traded aggressive sliders and banged wheels over the final 4 laps, a testament to the physical nature of 410 sprint car racing on short tracks like Attica. Lucius ultimately reclaimed the lead on lap 28 and held off a last corner desperation charge from Caleb Henry to secure his 5th career victory at the facility. Following that race, Lucius acknowledged the heavy contact, noting that while they tapped wheels, the aerodynamic and suspension integrity of his chassis actually held up under the immense load. So, great job to Lucius. Congratulations. Glad to see him back in victory lane. Great kid, great driver, and he's going to be someone to look out for in the future. I mean, as he peaks in his career, he's definitely going to be dangerous. Onto the dirt late model division. Well, that was a battle. Multiple time track champions that actually electrified the grandstands. Devin Shields and Kyle Moore engaged in a heavyweight bout characterized by relentless slide jobs, and Shields ultimately held off Moore, Matt Irie, and Ryan Missler to secure his 24th career win at Attica Raceway Park, a milestone that moved him to 4th on the division's all-time win list. Following the race, Shields noted the intensity of the battle, acknowledging Moore's prowess on the top side of the speedway, and stating that navigating the classic Attica cushion against Moore required defending against constant haymakers. In the Fremont Fence 305 sprints, Brian Sabito continued what has become a dominant 2026 campaign, And early on in the 25-lap feature, Paul Weaver provided stiff competition, hounding Subito for the lead. The complexation of the race changed entirely on lap 19 when a lap car spun, collecting Weaver and sending his machine flipping violently. And it was horrible. I mean, honestly, it sucked. But following the ensuing red flag and cleanup, Subito drove away from the field to secure his third win of the year at Attica Raceway Park. But the significance of these events resonates deeply within the Northern Ohio community. Subito's victory at Attica was his 7th overall victory in the 2026 season, 4 of which were secured just down the road at Fremont Speedway. This cross-pollination of success highlights specific engineering and driving mastery required for the AFCS. The soil compositions of Sandusky and Seneca counties demand unique chassis setups, and the interplay between Attica's high-banked momentum-based layout and Fremont's tighter semi-banked configuration requires a versatile approach from local crew chiefs. A driver like Subito, capable of winning consistently at both venues, demonstrates an exceptional understanding of crossweight distribution, stagger adjustments, and throttle control that define the pinnacle of Ohio grassroots racing. While the regional warriors battled it out in Ohio, the national touring stars of the Interstate High Limit Batteries Racing Series embarked on a very grueling and highly lucrative East Coast swing, culminating in the $100,000 to win Bob Weichert Memorial at Port Royal Speedway. The series, which has actually aggressively challenged the established dirt racing hierarchy in recent years, showcased unparalleled parity and intense championship points battles during this late July stretch. The week commenced on Thursday, July 23rd at Ransomville Speedway in New York. The narrative of the evening actually centered around Tanner Holmes, who dominated the opening half of the Speedway Motors Thursday Thunder A main. However, the microscopic margins of error in 410 sprint car racing were actually laid bare when a race-altering mistake in turn 1, actually navigating lap traffic, opened the door for the trailing competitors. Aaron Reitzel capitalized on the error, maneuvering his machine through the turbulent air to narrowly defeat Tyler Courtney by a staggering margin of just 0.114 seconds. That is a hell of a job. Hey, can you believe how close that was?
That's crazy. Sorry, I had to unmute my mic. I forgot to unmute it.
No, that was awesome. But the following night, Friday, July 24th, the series actually moved over to State Line Speedway in Busty, New York. Tyler Courtney, returning to the site of a severe injury sustained the previous year, delivered a redemptive and historic performance. Driving the Clausen Marshall Racing 7BC, Courtney not only captured the victory, but set a new statistical benchmark, establishing the record for the largest margin of victory in high-limit racing history. This performance signaled that Courtney and his team had perfectly optimized their aerodynamic package and shock valving for fast, sweeping corners of the New York Oval. The weekend subsequently shifted to the sprawling half-mile of Port Royal over in Pennsylvania, a track affectionately known as the Speed Palace. But Saturday, the 25th, that actually featured the Greg Hodnick Classic, a race originally scheduled for Pennsylvania Speed Week on July 4th, but was postponed due to inclement weather. Brett Marks, driving the familiar Myerstown Missile, executed a near-perfect drive, and Marks led all 25 laps of the feature to earn the $15,000 prize, marking his 17th career Port Royal victory. But despite Mark's statistical dominance, the track conditions made the feature incredibly treacherous. Marks built a massive 3-second lead within the first 6 laps. I mean, that is a hell of a drive. But as he encountered lap traffic, the aerodynamic wake of the slower cars disrupted the downforce of his. Marks attempted to utilize the top groove to maintain momentum, but the dirty air caused his car to slide dangerously close to the outside wall. Anthony McAree exploited this vulnerability, closing the gap to just under a second in the final 10 laps and racing side by side with Marks down the front straightaway. Marks ultimately maintained his composure and the lead into turn one, which secured him the victory. Justin Peck, who set the overall quick time in qualifying at 15.862 seconds, rallied late in the race to actually pass Macri for second place following a lap 23 restart. On Sunday, July 26th, that presented the crown jewel of the weekend, the $100,000 to win Bob Weichert Memorial. Gio Scelzi, driving for Spire Motorsports, ended an agonizing 110 race, 16-month drought of being winless in spectacular fashion. Starting from the inside row of row two, Scelzi just bided his time through the opening half of the 40-lap finale, and the early stages were actually dictated by a fierce battle between Courtney and local Pennsylvania posse standout Chase Dietz. Now, Dietz took control on lap 12, and he actually appeared poised to keep the trophy in the state. But however, the complexion of the race actually shifted dramatically during an open red flag for a fuel stop on lap 20. This intermission allowed Scelzi's crew chief, Eric Kurtzman, alongside team members Cole Newelephant, sorry if I mispronounced your name, bud, I'm not used to saying it, and Kinzer Dussel, to make critical chassis adjustments like altering the stagger, shock bleed, stuff like that. But following the restart, Scelzi's machine actually came to life. He methodically worked the bottom and middle grooves, driving past Courtney and Brent Marks. And on lap 28, Scelzi executed a flawless slide job on Dietz to assume the lead again. I shouldn't say again, just to assume the lead. I'm trying to get through it quickly, but over the final 12 laps, Scelzi navigated heavy lap traffic and survived relentless pressure from the trailing trio, eventually crossing the line first with a 1.165 second margin of victory. The macro level implications of Scelzi's victory are profound for the sprint car ecosystem. It marked the first ever sprint car victory for Spire Motorsports, an organization traditionally rooted in the NASCAR Cup Series, and their successful crossover into 410 sprint car racing signifies a blurring of the lines between stock car wealth and dirt track operations. It suggests that NASCAR-backed capital, engineering methodologies, and specialized personnel can successfully adapt to the unpredictable, highly variable surfaces of half-mile dirt track ovals. Furthermore, the championship standings underwent a seismic shift. High limit points leader Rico Abreu struggled immensely, being forced to utilize a provisional, not something you see out of Rico very often, but he had to use a provisional for a starting spot in his Tony Stewart Racing number 24. This uncharacteristic stumble allowed Scelzi and Aaron Reitzel to make up significant ground in the season-long championship battle. But while high limit racing captured the attention of Pennsylvania, the venerable World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars and the World of Outlaws Late Model Series concurrently hosted massive events in New York and Illinois, respectively. These events highlighted the grueling travel demands, high attrition rates, and intense mechanical preparation required for national dirt touring. The Sprint Car Series traversed in the Northeast, bridging the geographic gap between the high-profile Kings Royal and the upcoming late summer events. The dominant narrative of this swing was an absolute mastery displayed by David Gravel and his Big Game Motorsports team. Following a rain-postponed event, Gravel executed a flawless sweep at Oswego Speedway in Ontario, Canada, on Wednesday, July 22nd. Navigating the Canadian Oval, Gravel set quick time, won his heat, dominated the dash, and captured the A-main victory. Gravel actually noted that his crew chief, Cody Jacobs, perfectly anticipated the fuel burn-off as the car became lighter midway through the race, and the chassis dynamics shifted favorably, allowing Gravel to utilize maximum wing speed. Now, the momentum carried seamlessly across the border into the weekend at Weedsport Speedway in New York for the Empire State Challenge, a highly anticipated doubleheader. On Saturday the 25th, the narrative was dominated by Sheldon Haudenschild's remarkable resilience. After a disastrous qualifying session left him 16th out of 21 cars in his flight, Howden Shield and the KCP Racing 18 team were forced into a massive points deficit right along for the evening. However, utilizing the extreme high groove that few others dared to touch, Howden Shield methodically carved his way through the field to secure his 7th victory of the season. Then Sunday, July 26th, featured the 20,000 to win finale, which belonged entirely to David Gravel, and he again set the standard in qualifying, won his heat, started the 35-lap feature from the fifth position. The early portions of the race actually saw Logan Schuchart and Howden Shield battling aggressively for the lead, and Gravel displayed exceptional patience and track reading ability, as Schuchart actually moved his machine to the bottom groove in turns 1 and 2 to defend against Howden Shield's slide jobs. Gravel capitalized on the complete opening of the high line. Utilizing the cushion to generate superior corner exit speed, Gravel drove around the battling duo to secure the lead, and this victory was staggering in its historical context. It marked Gravel's 9th World of Outlaws win of the season and his 6th consecutive seasons securing a victory at Weedsport Speedway. The performance actually expanded his championship points lead to a commanding 154 points over Howden Shield, firmly establishing the Big Game Motorsports number 2 as the prohibitive favorite for the title for 2026. Concurrently, the World of Outlaws Late Model Series converged on Fairbury Speedway in Illinois for the legendary Prairie Dirt Classic. The unique format of this prestigious event requires drivers to earn their way into Saturday's 50,000 to win finale through a series of grueling Friday night showdown features. So on Friday, July 24th, the property actually witnessed some of the most intense qualifying laps of the year. The microscopic margins of error in super late model racing were evident as Shen and Babb set the pace in Group A with a 12.83 second lap, narrowly edging Tanner English at 12.852 and Chase Jungens at 12.865. So Bobby Pierce led Group B with a 13.40, and the 4 showdown features, which locked the top finishers directly into the main event, were claimed by a mix of touring titans and regional specialists. Now, Showdown 1, local Illinois favorite Jason Feger secured the win, utilizing his vast experience on the Fairbury Dirt to hold off Dallin Murdy and Keith Lowdy. Showdown 2, Sam Seawright, and he actually outdueled regional veterans Chris Simpson and Dennis Erb Jr. And Showdown 3, national powerhouse Brandon Shepard bested Justin Duty and Tyler Erb. Showdown 4, Trey Mills defeated veterans Shane Clanton and Mike Marlar. The Prairie Dirt Classic highlights the extreme mechanical demands and the importance of track position in modern super late model racing. The success of regional drivers like Jason Feger against national entities like Brandon Shepard underscores the home track advantage prevalent in the Midwest late model racing, where intimate knowledge of how the black Illinois dirt transitions throughout the night often outweighs massive team budgets. But that's going to do it for the dirt side, guys. So I'm going to hand it over to you.
Well, I'm just going to start with just the typical, typical weekend of the Truck Series. Maybe you can attest to this, Jason. We had deja vu again. We had Lane Van Rigsbergen just absolutely dominating the truck race. Really, there was not a whole lot of stories. Lane Riggs, for people who aren't paying attention, Russ.
It was a joke.
I know. So Lane Riggs, from what I saw, beat Connor Mozak for the win by a little over a second. Now, granted, that's not his biggest margin of victory, but from what I read, he led 176 laps of, make sure I have that fact right before I officially give the total laps. But when I checked, it was like 171 or 176 laps of 200 laps he led. Oh, no,
It's
sorry.
actually
181 laps he had led at the time, it looks like, of 200. Sorry, go ahead, Jason.
I was just gonna say the total combined laps he led was like 198 out of 200,
Yeah.
and his teammate led 2 of them with Chandler Smith. So
Yeah, it was kind of a. I really felt like the truck race was. I mean, it was fun because they were slipping and sliding around, but it really, it kind of didn't have the excitement that you would think of a short track race. So, I mean, them slip sliding around and almost not getting the white flag with, I believe it was Ty Majeski, or not Ty Majeski. Somebody got to the outside wall. I think it was Grant Infinger. Almost, caused the final caution, which would have caused chaos. But unfortunately, they didn't let it roll back to the checkered flag, and Lane Riggs won the race. I didn't get to watch a whole lot of the O'Reilly race, but I want to give a shout out to Carson Kvapil for getting your first O'Reilly Series win. I'll get to the rest of this in a second, but congratulations to him getting his first win. He has been so close so many times. And now I need to get to the part where I'm surprised he didn't get in trouble yet, but I'm happy that they haven't done anything so far. There was rumor that I guess he wasn't supposed to do a burnout on the bricks. So he rolls right up to the bricks and completely disregards the rules and burns out right there on the bricks. And then there's a photo somewhere of the grounds crew having to scrub the rubber off the bricks before the cup race on Sunday, which I thought was rather entertaining that he couldn't do a burnout on the bricks, did it anyway, and then made them, clean it up. That's one of those, all right, I won, screw you moments.
They'll probably send him a cleaning bill in the mail.
They probably will, or they'll fine him or something, which, I mean, to be fair, I feel like the win is worth the fine. I don't know if I can argue that one. I think the biggest highlights of the weekend came from the Sunday race. Carson Hocevar starts on the pole, and I thought he was going to do really good today. And then I remembered that his kryptonite is in the field. His arch nemesis, the clock that stands the test of time. It's Heim time. Corey Heim does probably the wildest aero blocking I've ever seen, and definitely got underneath Carson Hocevar's skin, because when Corey Heim came down pit road, Carson made sure that he told him he was number one. And I'm not going to lie, that was like some bullfighter type of stuff. Just follow him down to pit road and still missing the pit road commitment line to make sure you gave him the bird to basically push him onto pit road was one of the more wilder sequences I think I've ever seen. Back to my statements that I've made before. Kyle Larson, great on dirt. He's getting overrated on pavement. Didn't even make it out of stage 1 before he wrecked, if I'm not mistaken. He literally, everybody thought, he's one of the favorites to win at Indy. And he wrecked out before they even got to the end of stage 1, which is, honestly, even for me, is absolutely wild that he didn't make it that far. But it's also just a test of how bad Chevy has been lately. Just looking back at the results from this race, Toyota basically dominated. I mean, I see 1 Toyota, 2 Toyota, 3 Toyota, 4 Toyota. I see 5 Toyotas in the top 10, and the rest of them are Fords and 1 Chevy in 9th. And of all the Chevys, Carson Hocevar ended up finishing 9th after all that. So it's pretty bad when, the majority of the big name teams, not counting Spire as one of them, can't even manage to get in the top. Honestly, the top 15. Alex Bowman was the top Hendrick driver in 19th. Spire had all three cars within the top, 18 positions. And, you know, the lone Trackhouse car that did well was SCG finishing 16th, which still, he's going to figure out one of these ovals, and we're all going to be in trouble because these Chevys are not doing good. But when Carson Hocevar and SVG are your top performers in Chevy, other than Cole Custer, which I still can't figure that one out, is just insane. What were your takeaways from this weekend, Jason? Sorry, I didn't mean to get on a little rant there.
No, you're good, Nathan. Some of the takeaways was how long the green flag racing went. I thought we'd see a lot more wrecks, to be honest with you, or tire issues or something. But just
I
seeing,
thought there was a few tire issues, if I'm not mistaken, weren't there?
well, at first there was one, the Kyle Larson one, right before the end of stage one. He's about to
And I thought
embed the
Chase had one too, didn't he? Chase Elliott?
Yeah, well, the thing with Chase Elliott is he came across Ricky Stenhouse's nose and he wasn't cleared, and
Okay.
Stenhouse hit him in the wall. That's what caused the tire issue slash,
Toe link, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, it was a toe link that broke. He spent like 50 laps in the garage area.
Yeah. That was the other thing I forgot about. The infamous in-season challenge. Who did you have picking winning the $1 million prior to this race, Jason? I'm curious. It's probably the same thing as me.
Well, from what you and Russ were talking last week, I was going to go with Ryan Blaney as well because he's got more
Yeah.
experience. So,
Yeah, you're in the same boat I was in. I thought for sure that Ryan Blaney would just absolutely oust Todd Gilliland, the Todd father. And unfortunately, everybody who picked Ryan Blaney got the, mobster treatment, where the Todd father goes on and wins the in-season tournament. That is what, the second underdog win in the 2 seasons we've run the in-season tournament. I can't say I'm surprised, but I also can't really say that I, expected it. So
yeah, I think it's pretty
it
interesting.
doesn't really help that a Toyota took out one of the two Fords. I still don't know exactly what John Hunter was doing. I understand that he apologized, but also you cost the 12 a lot of money. So I would not. I'd play I'd tread very lightly when it comes around the 12. That would just be me. But congratulations to Todd Gilliland. I still can't wrap my head around that one that he won, but it is the in-season tournament. Anything can happen. There's been talk lately this week about, and I think Kyle Larson caught a lot of flack from this and others in the industry, about shortening races. And I know we've talked on this show a lot about how we would shorten races, but I don't know if we've ever gotten your point of view on it, Jason. What are your thoughts on this? Shortening, on how to short, are NASCAR races too long? Should we be shortening them, or are they just right?
Certain races we should shorten the distance. I would agree. I
Okay.
mean, honestly, think like I respect the history of this track that I've been mentioned with Darlington, but that goes too long. Dover goes too long.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they should keep the traditional like full length
Now,
distance.
go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say keep the full distance for like Daytona and Talladega, Charlotte, because just how historical those races are.
Okay. I
So
guess
that's just
that
my
leads me into another question because you had mentioned Darlington. Darlington would be the Southern 500, which I believe is going to be Labor Day weekend next year. Are you referring to these cutting one of the races back or both of Darlington races back for the Southern 500? Because I know Darlington has 2 races normally, I think.
Yeah, they traditionally do 2 races a season, like you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Nothing against that track. I like it, but I think they should just stick with one.
Okay. I can't argue that one. That there's a lot of tracks that I feel like don't deserve 2 races. You mentioned Dover, and that's one been really high on my list of tracks that I honestly don't think deserve a cup date. Period, because the cup cars just can't run there. I hate saying that for all my fans in that area, or all our fans in that area, but that was probably the biggest snooze fest of an all-star race I've ever seen, and it was only like 50 laps shorter than a normal Cup Series race there. Until they fix these cars, Dover needs to be off the table. Um, I do agree with some races being a little shorter, but I do also agree that the crown jewel races should stay the same length. Daytona 500 should obviously stay 500 miles. I think the Brickyard 400 should stay 400 miles. I mean, that's iconic. Coke 600 can't short the Coke 600. That's the whole point of the Indy or the World 1100 or whatever they call it now. Those three come to mind, or yeah, Daytona, Charlotte, Indy. Um, I do feel like the Southern 500, at least that one, should stay 500. Whether they shorten the spring race or not, I feel like if they cut it off the schedule, then keep the Southern 500 the same length. But if they don't cut both races, make the spring race shorter and keep the Southern 500 the longer one, because it's a grueling race, and I do feel like that one should be, one of the crown jewels. I saw a quote from Kyle Petty this week about you can't just show up in the 90s and become a crown jewel. And to an extent, I can agree with that. I don't think Bristol should be a crown. The fall race at Bristol, I understand where he's coming from with a crown jewel. I feel like that one is considered a crown jewel. I don't know if I agree with it being one. It's kind of questionable. Um, but also, I don't really know what races would be considered a crown jewel outside of those, 3 or 4 races. I also understand he was referring to Indy not being a crown jewel in when it came in '94, but then again, also pretty sure he would have considered it a crown jewel when he was racing in it back in the '90s. So I don't know if I agree with those comments for Indy, but definitely for Bristol, that one I feel like is just iconic, but it's not a crown jewel win.
Yeah, I think to go back from a few minutes ago, like what tracks only need 1 race instead of 2 per season.
Okay.
I say I was thinking, take out one of the Darlington races and take it back to the Rockingham, the Rock. They haven't raced on that
Now, I
forever.
could agree with that. That one, I would love to see the Cup cars go to Rockingham. I feel like that would be a great race. I'm trying to think what other tracks we go 2 times a year. I know they're talking about rotating the All Star race this year. I'm gonna get to that later because that's got me all kinds of bad a whack. I know that we go to Echo Park at least twice. I don't know if Echo Park being a spring race and a midsummer race makes a lot of sense. I'd rather them move the second race further in the year. I do feel like that one could deserve 2 dates, but what are your thoughts on that one? It's debatable with that one.
Uh, I don't have people them having 2 dates like you just said, but I think the second day should be put in the chase just to make
Okay.
things more interesting.
See, I either move the second one back or move the first one further down because I feel like two super speedways back to back and then going to a road course is at least that's what they did this year. I don't know if I like the whole 2 super speedways back to back after running super speedways for how many weeks in a row. I mean, next year they're going to run a super speedway on February 13th, and then they're going to have the Super Bowl, and then that next week they're going to have one super speedway for what, 5 days? Or not 5 days. I guess it's going to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so 4 days. And then you're going to go from, unless they change it next year, you're going to go from running 4 days of super speedways in a row to you're going to run a fifth day of super speedways 7 days later. The season in theory starts with 3 weeks worth of super speedways. And I don't really know if I like that. That's not NASCAR. I'd like to see them start at start at Daytona and then, I don't know, go to I wouldn't say Miami because that doesn't really show us any better. I'd love to see them go to Rockingham for the second race of the year. Spice it up. You're going to get what? Daytona, Rockingham, and Circuit of the Americas. You're at least working your way back to North Carolina to get your road course car. But I don't like the whole thought of having 2 super speedways back to back and then going right to the West Coast swing with a road course.
Yeah,
I don't. Now, what is one track that you would love to see them have more dates, if that's possible? Like they have 1 date and you think they deserve 2 dates. Or that should keep a second date if they have 2 already.
I kind of miss when they had 2 dates for Michigan because I like the high speeds and the good close racing they have out there.
Okay. See, I kind of remember those days a little bit. I remember them running it early summer and late summer. If I remember correctly, I think they ran them pretty close together, which was a weird combo for me. That one I kind of am iffy on. I feel like that would be good, but I still feel like the 1 date is better there. It kind of brings the crowds in a little more.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on, where was it? I read something about they're going to move the All-Star race around this year or next year, and it's rumored to go to New Hampshire. My thoughts on that is Dover wasn't bad enough. They're going to move it to somewhere that's even worse for the next gen car. What are your thoughts on them possibly going to New Hampshire next year with the All-Star race? I can only imagine.
Honestly, think it's a bad idea. They should stick with Daytona or even maybe Talladega.
For the All-Star race.
Yes.
See, I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like it's a better move than going to New Hampshire. I'll give you that. But I don't know about Daytona or Talladega for an All-Star race. That's maybe
It belongs
maybe
to
it's just
Charlotte.
me. It does belong at Charlotte. I will give you that. I honestly feel like it was better at Charlotte in general. They should have never moved it. But if they're going to move it, I do feel like it should be a short track style race. I think Bristol was a little wonky.
Okay, well,
done it differently.
Take it to IRP.
That one, I don't know if I'd argue that because I feel like with the way the trucks are sliding around Friday, I feel like if we can get these cars with less downforce and get them sliding around, I feel like that would be a good race.
I don't know. Take them to a track.
Go ahead.
Take them to a track that they don't race at
normally.
All.
Yes. I agree with that. Pick a random track that's not on the current schedule and just do a one-off race. And I'm not talking street courses or dirt tracks. I'm talking pick a pavement track and focus on that general area. I know that we'll never get the Nashville Fairgrounds, at least anytime soon. But if we do get that, you got to put that on there. It's not a current NASCAR track. Run that. If they could somehow convince, Cletus to let them run the Freedom Factory, that'd be another great one. Barberville, I think it's in Ohio, runs just some off-the-wall small-town track, highlight different small areas.
How about
if we have to, run Jennerstown I think it's over in Maryland or near the PA Maryland line. Run Jennerstown. You got to focus on some small track that normally doesn't get attention. If we're gonna go, home NASCAR homegrown tracks, we gotta, do the regional tracks. Once you do a lottery, and once your track is pulled, you guys aren't in the running again for the following year.
I got one for you, Nathan.
Okay.
How about Winchester Speedway?
See, I don't know about. I don't remember if I've ever. I have heard of the track. I don't remember what it looks like, but I mean, they run the Cars Tour there, if I'm not mistaken. Why not run the track? Run the tracks that the Cars Tour could run. You got the big names with the local smaller guys. I mean, Five Flags. I understand exactly where you're going with that. I love that idea. Run a Cars Tour race like they did at North Wilkesboro, and then have the Cup race, a few days later. I mean, you don't have to run the exact same weekend, but still, you could have it as a doubleheader feature. You could run the Cars Tour on, we'll say, Thursday night, and then you have the Open on Friday night, and the All-Star race Sunday night or Saturday night.
They could always bring. They could always bring back the Disney World Speedway.
Yeah, I don't know if that's physically possible because the parking lot is now the backstretch.
Yeah,
it was
I have seen
sarcasm.
That. I know, but what was the other one? So, if they're going to keep the chase next year, Jason, I want to know your thoughts on this. What are the 10 tracks that belong in the chase? I heard one of them will be Watkins Glen. It'll be in the chase next year from what I'm hearing from rumors. So what are 9 other tracks that you would like to see in the chase next year?
Bristol, Talladega, Charlotte.
Up to 3.
Yep, Chicagoland.
4.
Richmond.
5.
Michigan.
In the chase. That's a new one. I haven't heard that one yet. Okay. I could see that.
Let's see. Homestead.
What are your thoughts on Homestead? Homestead stay or go?
Homestead to stay.
Okay, that's 7. Got 2 more.
Oh, jeez. Texas.
Texas. Okay. What about Phoenix? Keeping Phoenix?
Yeah, keep Phoenix in there.
Okay, there's your 9 right there. I know, Russ, you don't watch a whole lot of NASCAR, but based on the tracks that you know, what tracks would you see in the chase if you could have your own, version of the chase for next year? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Definitely Charlotte.
Okay, so there's one.
You got to have a road course in there. So
I think Watkins Glen's in there. Yeah, I think they said Watkins Glen's possibly in there. So we'll give you. We'll say that's 2 because that's technically Charlotte would have been 2.
And honestly, I would like to see one of the street courses in there. That would be fun.
Ooh,
that would make it interesting.
Okay, so technically 2 road courses then.
But
road course and street course.
Not San Diego and not Chicago. A new one. Let's come up with a new one that's a little bit like. Let me design it. Oh man!
What are your thoughts on running the St. Petersburg road course?
I have never seen it. I've never watched it.
I know the Truck Series is going there in March, which I still think is really dumb that you can't string the Clash, Speed Weeks, and that into one trip. There is a week gap between Daytona 500 and St. Petersburg, and I believe they are going to go from Daytona to Atlanta, back to St. Petersburg to go west, which I do think is kind of dumb. It's supposed to be IndyCar weekend which is like the first weekend in March, from what I read. That one is confirmed. I'm still trying to kind of figure out what I want to do for the chase. Personally, Martinsville has to stay at least one of the Martinsville races has to stay in the chase. That is probably the best race in the chase. In my opinion, it beats out Bristol for the best short track race of the chase. And honestly, I feel like it should be the second to last race. It is the perfect placement on the current chase. I don't know how I feel about Homestead. I feel like that just is going to get dominated by all the guys who run the outside wall. So you got like Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, all those guys just run the outside fence, and that's really the only way you could win the race. So I don't know how I feel about that being the championship race. Personally, I don't like Phoenix, and I really don't like Homestead as championship race. I was trying to read what I can never pronounce his names.
Aztronics.
Yeah, I was trying to read what he said because I saw his comment pop out. I did see there's support for that.
I like saying Aztronics.
Yeah, I just couldn't pronounce it. I do feel like if they should run a few more races together. I know they had Iowa and NASCAR. I thought they were two separate weekends, but I feel like they could have done that.
I don't care for Miami as the final race either.
I mean, it brings it back to nostalgia, but it's not really that good of racing now. It's all dominated by running the outside.
I feel
like it's lost its hype.
I had high hopes for Phoenix being the finale, but I'll tell you, I don't think it turned out the way anyone wanted it to.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly,
I definitely don't like the reconfiguration of it.
Yeah, this is the way I feel about this, and I know this is gonna sound super, super dumb, but the nostalgia in me wants to see like old school Rockingham be the championship race. And I know it'll never happen. But I would love to see, old school sliding off the corner like they used to do at the old Atlanta for the win. Beating and banging for the win, sliding up off the bottom, drag race to the line type of thing. I feel like that would be a great way to settle a championship. That would get see, I'm not the only one who thought that. I feel like Rockingham would be the ideal finish to the season. I feel like Martinsville is a little too tight for a championship race, so I don't really agree with that one. But Rockingham, I feel like, would be the perfect way to end a season. Go back to our old school roots and sliding off the corner. You got the, spinning the tires all the way to the line like they used to do when they came to the line at the Roval, just standing on it, hanging the rear end out from underneath the car. I feel like that would be the perfect thing to watch them come off the corner and battle to the line. They used to have the cameraman in the flag stand when they came to the line. I feel like that'd be a super cool way to end the season, watching them come to the line like that.
What do you think about now that they have taken the All-Star race away, but putting North Wilkesboro
as a points race?
As the finale.
I don't know about North Wilkesboro. I mean, I like North Wilkesboro being on the schedule, getting a points date. I feel like that was absolutely great when it came to getting them a points date and getting them back on the schedule. I don't feel like it deserves a championship race, like the championship race. I feel like maybe going in the chase, I feel like that one would be okay. I wouldn't say later rounds. I'd say maybe early stages to middle stage. I wouldn't say it'd be one of the last 4 races. I'd say it'd have to be one of the first 6. Maybe even the first 4 races. I feel like that would be better. I can't see it being like first race of the chase, but I don't see it being like the 6th. I feel like maybe if I'm going to put it on the race 1 through 10, I would say maybe race 3 or 4. And I feel like even race 4 is a little late for it. 5 seems too late. Maybe even race 2. You got what? Race 1 you got at Kansas. Race 2 we got at North Wilkesboro. And then after that, maybe go to Bristol. I don't know. Personally, I liked Bristol being one of the cutoff races when it was the chase because you could, beat and bang a little and cause drama. But when it's not, when it's not a cutoff race and it's not playoffs, it kind of loses its edge. I still feel like Bristol's a great race for a night race, but I do feel like the playoffs going away, it kind of takes away the gladiator effect of it. You know, don't get me wrong. The spring race is definitely not the gladiator style. It's definitely the night race. But I also feel like when they take away the knockout version of it, it kind of loses its edge and loses the excitement that it had with the chase. Or with the playoffs. I feel like Martinsville being the final cutoff before the championship race, I feel like that's a great one to settle debts right there. I feel like it's a great battle and storyline maker for who's going to get paid back what in the championship race. I feel like Bristol, when it was in the playoffs, was a great, end of the round race. I feel like that was perfect because then you could, knock somebody out and then have to be worried about getting paid back the rest of the championship. I'm still kind of bummed that they got rid of the Roval in the playoff and the chase, but I do understand why they did it because now that they've got SVG who just dominates it, it kind of takes away. I still felt like it was a good, I wouldn't say it was a good race on TV, but it was a fun race to go to in person. I've been to at least 2 of them, and I enjoyed it. It was fun to watch the different chaos around the track.
That's as bad as fucking Daytona's road course.
Yeah, I felt like that was kind of a wonky race at Daytona. If they were to go back and do it differently, like not as an actual points race, and not as like the Clash or the All-Star race, maybe just an exhibition, but not as those 3, I feel like it'd be okay. But I don't feel like you should run the entire field for a race for that. That's stupid. But I also don't feel like it should be the same route as IMSA. Run it in reverse if you have to. Make it a challenge.
I'll tell you what. Well, I'm going back to the Roval thing. I don't know what the hell it is about the Roval that you love so much, but I think that racetrack is absolutely ridiculous. It is stupid. I don't like it. Either run a fucking oval or run a fucking road course. We don't need to mix the two. There's a whole reason for running 2 different types of tracks. Let's not mix fucking 2. It's stupid, in my opinion. I'm sorry, but I
can't really argue that.
Absolutely,
I understand.
it's absolutely asinine. I hate it, and 90% of that racetrack is an oval anyway. So what the hell's the point in it? I say dig the damn thing up and put camping back in or whatever the hell was there before. Sorry.
Here's one that I'm sure will definitely be an interesting answer. With the Clash going back to Daytona in 2027, should NASCAR run the All-Star race at Bowman Gray? What are your thoughts, Jason? I feel like it should be 100% yes.
No.
No, stick with Daytona.
All-Star race for Daytona.
I think it'd be more prestigious and a lot more competitive than what Bowman Gray.
I'm 100% with Jason on this. You have to have competitiveness. It's way too small to run it at Bowman Gray. The Clash is totally different because just listen to the name of it. I mean, it's supposed to be basically a brawl to try
Yeah.
to win a little bit of money. I mean,
Wouldn't it be a brawl
But-
for $1 million at the All-Star race?
yes, but the All-Star race is not supposed to be a brawl, an all-out brawl on the track. It's supposed to be a showcase event of drivers' talents along with their team. Not an all-out battle on the racetrack of just who the hell can knock each other out of the way.
Okay.
I'd say
I mean, I can understand that.
I love the clash being there, and I would say definitely keep it there for a while. But
Well, it's
the all
going to Daytona next year.
I know, but the All-Star race I wouldn't have at Bowman Gray. I don't want it to be at Daytona either. I think Daytona's a little too much.
That's what I was
big.
thinking.
I think it should be at a smaller racetrack, not a super short track, but something intermediate. Maybe
What are your thoughts on
maybe
Rockingham?
maybe the Rock, maybe even Atlanta.
What about Nashville? Nashville's they call it Super Speedway. I don't really know why.
Well, like Atlanta's not really a fucking super speedway in my opinion.
That one's called Echo Park.
Nashville would be interesting. Or here's another one. I'll say it again. Take it to one of the street courses.
Yeah, but if SVG won a race prior, obviously he's going to dominate the All-Star race at a road course. You got to put a restriction on him, if anything.
I mean, if they're going to move it around, let's see it at one of these street courses. Let's see it at a road course. Let's see it at Coda. Let's do, move it around and make it interesting. If you're going to do it, make it interesting. Don't take it to boring ass places like New Hampshire or Dover.
I say we run the Clyde, Ohio street course. Run it like they do the Clyde street race with the go-karts.
We could, but I don't think the streets are wide enough.
Oh, that's the whole point. You got to make them battle for it. Got to make them fight for their positions. Rather than put them in big cars, put them in the go-karts. I think it'd be more safety issues than that.
That brings up an idea that I have for a go-kart race, but I'm not going to say it here.
Oh, no.
But, no, I say let's make it interesting. If you're going to move it around, let's make it interesting.
Yes.
Let's try places. But I still think the idea of the best idea is a track that they don't race on the schedule on a regular basis. I mean, it could be something that the trucks go to, like IRP, whatever.
Yeah.
And everybody could have a chance to get in a truck and, for the actual truck race and check out the track, see, but make it interesting by going to a place that they don't normally go to.
Yes.
I still say Slinger Speedway.
So before I forget, there were two other stories I want to cover before we run completely out of time. There was reports that Chandler Smith will not be returning to Front Row Motorsports in 2027. That was one report. And then there's also, as most people have seen already, Alex Bowman he extended his contract until the end of 2027, but he is retiring at the end of 2027. And also, he's not going to get to drive the 48 car at Daytona. Jimmy Johnson, that'll be his final Cup Series start. And I guess Hendrick is going to let him run the 48. So my question now is, what number will Alex Bowman run at Daytona? And what will... Okay, go ahead.
I say let Bowman run the 25 car because he wanted that number in the first place.
Okay.
But they wanted to keep the iconic number 48. But I say, okay, Jimmy wants to take his last Daytona 500 in the 48. So let's let Bowman take his last Daytona 500 in the number that he wanted.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's a fair trade.
I feel that's fair, yes. My next question is, with
Alex
Bowman...
Let's
go ahead. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Jason, what was yours?
Let's let Jason weigh in.
I almost forgot. Sorry.
You're good. I would agree with you guys. Let Alex Bowman in the 25 car next year at Daytona, and then so Jimmy could do the 48, like you guys were saying as well. And then, if it's possible, maybe Rick Hendrick could let him drive the 25 car the whole season for his last year for one last hurrah. So,
Okay.
Yeah, and then let Jimmy have the 48 for good. I don't know, but
I mean, I would think retiring the number would be it just doesn't seem right anybody else driving the 48. Just make it the Ally 25.
but they don't retire numbers. NASCAR actually owns
I
the
know they
numbers.
don't.
The teams just lease the numbers off of NASCAR.
Yeah. So here's my next question after that. After we move on past Daytona, we move on past the season. Who gets to take Alex Bowman's seat after 2027? There's reports that Corey Day is going to take over the Alex Bowman ride. There's also talk of Connor Zilic, Hendrick buying out his contract, put him in Alex Bowman's ride. Personally, I don't think either of them is going to be ready by the end of next year at all. I mean, I understand this is Connor Zilic's year, and that will give him a whole nother year before he gets in the car. Corey Day, he has 0 Cup Series starts whatsoever, so they'd have to throw him in a different number next year to even get him experience for when he drives the other car. That's what I'm saying is, are they going to put Alex Bowman in the 25 just for Daytona and then run Corey Day, run part-time starts during the year? Or are they going to do the whole waiver thing and they're going to let Alex Bowman run the 25 and then switch to the 48 the rest of the year? But they didn't let Corey Day do that. Or not Corey Day, Corey LaJoy. Didn't Corey LaJoy have to change numbers through the year and they're not going to give him the waiver? In
yeah,
the Ram truck?
Who the hell is Corey LaJoy?
I was referring to the one where what's-his-face got kicked out of the Ram ride and Corey LaJoy was only running part-time and Ryan let him keep his points because he changed numbers. I understood what you meant. Yeah. Does that mean that they're going to have to redact the rule that they, put out against Corey LaJoy? Or are they just not going to let Alex Bowman run the rest of the season? Or run for points the rest of the season. That is kind of a oddball one.
I'm sorry, but the whole shit about the car number, blah, the damn driver. Who cares what number they got on their car? We don't do that bullshit in the dirt track. The driver gets all the points in dirt track racing, not the fucking car or the car number. That is absolutely stupid. And if NASCAR is going to make some damn changes, that should be one of them.
Yes.
And I remember I was listening to you guys earlier talk about cars with toe links on them. Man, I remember when these cars didn't have a stupid part like that on them. The axle was a solid piece. It was or not the axle, but the rear end was a solid rear end. It wasn't a stupid piece of shit transaxle and all this crap. They have ruined this car. They've ruined the Cup Series, and that's why I could give 2 shits less about it anymore. I'm in a really, really grumpy mood, especially about NASCAR.
I know it's late.
I could give a shit less about NASCAR Cup Series because they just keep screwing it all up.
But so, Jason, I'm going to start with you on this one. Who do you think gets the Alex Bowman seat for the start of 2028? There was talks of Corey Day, talks of Connor Zilic. Or is there another party that you think deserves the seat over those guys?
I'm going to go with Connor Zilic, to be honest with you.
Okay. Any reasoning behind that? I'm trying to figure out. I want to try to get the whole perspective on it.
Honestly, think that Hendrick could give him better cars he could adapt to a lot easier than what Trackhouse is doing for him right now.
Okay. I see Astronics is agreeing with that also. I'm on the fence. I'll get to that one here in a little bit.
You could actually probably call him his name, Philip or Phil, or I don't know what he goes by.
Phil.
But
I just tried to pronounce whatever you
got
guys are saying.
I got an idea. I say piss on it. Let's buy out Carson Hocevar and bring him over.
I mean, I'm not against that. So you think Carson Hocevar should get Alex Bowman's seat over everybody else?
I mean,
is that what you're saying, Russ?
For crying out loud, he can't make it look any fucking worse. I mean,
you're not wrong.
I understand Bowman's health issues. I get that. I'm not talking crap about that. But beyond his health issues, he really was a mediocre ass driver anyway. So he can't retire.
I can't argue that.
I told you in a text message the other day, he can't retire soon enough. And I mean, this is absolutely hell. At this point, they should have went for Denny Hamlin or something.
Yeah.
You know,
here's
where they screwed up at. They definitely should have went after Kevin Harvick back in the day.
Yeah. Here's one that I'm sure nobody has on their radar that I feel like will make just the same amount of waves, if not more, performance-wise, than Corey Day and Connor Zilisch. Is I think Rajah Caruth. He has made the same amount of progress in multiple different cars. He's pretty consistent with his finishes across equipment of finishing, like, I would say mid top 15. Like, he's not top 10 every week, but he's not like 20th or worse. He's in that middle range of the field. And it's consistent. It's whether it's a junior motorsports or that Jordan Anderson 32. I feel like Rajah has been consistent with his performances across equipment. Corey Day, he has his moments in the front of the field, but he's not as consistent when it comes to, his finishes, like across tracks. I feel like across tracks, Rajah has the same consistency throughout equipment, where Day is he's in the front and then he's in the back and he's in the same equipment, but he's not consistent with tracks.
Hey, I don't have any problem with him. I have no problem with that as long as he is not a race car driver like fucking Bubba Wallace is, and he is an actual race car driver.
And that's why I feel like Rajah will fit better at Hendrick than anybody else, because that would have the diversity part in it, but also you could see the personality difference between Bubba and Rajah. Rajah, I guess he sees Bubba as a mentor, but he doesn't take his steps. He's way more humble about his, progress. Yes, he's not in the Cup Series yet, but also he's a little bit more, I would say soft-spoken, but also he's critical of himself when he needs to be, but he's not overly dramatic with it. Bubba, when he's critical of himself, he's like, oh, woe is me, dramatic as can be. I feel like Rajah, he's critical of himself, but he doesn't oversell it and try to get pity at others.
You want to talk?
I honestly feel like nobody's talking Rajah, and I feel like he deserves a lot more conversation than people are giving him, because small crowd guy like Byron was, and we saw Byron wasn't really good when he started, but he's making some noise now. Like I said earlier, I want to refer to this. I saw a stat earlier today, and I really am concerned about Zilisch getting that ride. There was a stat I saw today that Connor Zilisch has more last place finishes this season, which is essentially his career, than Danica Patrick had in her entire Cup Series career. She has 2. He has 5 this season alone. That is a bit alarming to me, and I don't know if I feel like that's a safe, unless he could somehow dramatically fix his performance in this last half of the season, I'd be really watching him hard next year, because if he doesn't pick up his performance, I feel like that should not, qualify him for that ride. Hendrick deserves a lot, expects a lot more. And if he's going to show up with, 20 some last place finishes before he even goes to Hendrick, I don't know if that's enough performance, scale to warrant him going to a top tier ride, regardless if Trackhouse is, bottom tier crap or whether they're, it's whether it's the equipment or the driver. I don't know if it's fully the equipment. I really feel like to an extent this is going to be a, make or break end of the year. And if they don't see, performance uptick by, the beginning third of next year, I don't know if they should take him. I'm really worried about them downgrading with Connor Zilic rather than staying the same with Bowman. And Bowman, Russ is right. He really isn't that good. But I feel like that's a downgrade to take Zilic. He's great in O'Reilly. Maybe they send him down to the Hendrick O'Reilly program. But I don't think he deserves a ride in Cup with the way his Cup performance is going. Maybe they send him to Spire, and then all of a sudden Spire picks up. But I'm a little worried about Connor's start. I mean, yeah, I saw that too with Astronics. You're not wrong with that either. It's a bit. I'm just worried about what's going to happen with that. Is I don't know if that's a good sign.
I say they just need to call my friend on here, James Crow, to drive their car. I mean, why not at this point?
Gee, thanks, Russ.
Hey,
thanks.
Nathan, James has a lot more racing experience than you do. Sorry.
I'm just having fun. I'm just having fun with it. But
don't call me. I'm too damn old.
One more thing before we close out the show, because I'm almost out of stuff to talk about. I know Jason has seen the trailer for the new NASCAR game. I don't know if you've seen it, Russ. But Jason, what are your thoughts on this new NASCAR game? I feel like this is I wouldn't say a big upgrade, but it's definitely a step up for what we had before. We're getting burnouts back. We're getting dynamic tracks where, starts out green and as you run, it rubbers in. I'm kind of liking that feature. That looks kind of cool. What was the other feature I saw? There's some new features I'm seeing in this new game, at least from the trailers and the dev diaries, that have gotten me more excited for this game. I mean, I was excited for last game. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like this could be another stepping stone to becoming a great NASCAR game. We're not the EA Sports level, but we're getting there. We're getting to maybe a step below what EA Sports was at its peak. So what are your thoughts?
I think they've made a lot of progress since last year's game. I noticed the thing in the trailer, they got roof flaps for once.
They didn't have roof flaps before?
Not in NASCAR 25, they didn't.
I'm going to have to go look for that because I never noticed that.
I think the burnout feature is going to be pretty neat. Like you're saying, how the track rubbers in as time goes on, that's going to be quite a bit of a challenge. Because none of us
do you think they'll let us do the Carson Hocevar when we do our burnout?
That would be pretty cool.
If they add that feature as one of the buttons to finish it off, I feel like that'd be cool. Or like a special move if you're driving with Carson's car.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I wish they'd do like a feature, create your own celebration kind of feature.
See, I feel like there's so much creativity there, it'd be hard to program that. I'm just thinking of a gaming programmer perspective. But I do feel like there should be the option to do your own burnout or use your driver's iconic celebration. I was thinking about that because you got the Carson Hocevar, you got the Ross Chastain Watermelon Smash, got the Daniel Suarez Pinata, you got the Shane Van Gisbergen Rugby Kick, Kyle Larson with the burnout out the window, with the hand out the steering wheel out the window. I'm trying to think what other iconic ones there are.
I wish
Carl
they did.
Edwards.
I was going to
See,
say
but
Carl.
Carl Edwards doesn't race in NASCAR anymore. I do feel like they
Yeah, but
should, if
you
they're
said iconic ones. That was iconic. I don't care if it's
current
vintage or
drivers,
not.
though. I will say, if they're gonna do it, or Daniel Hemrick needs to do the backflip. That's what it reminded me of when you said that, because Daniel Hemrick does the backflip also, and I miss seeing that
Or
because that gives you a throwback all the way.
do a commemorative one for Kyle Busch.
Yes, the bow. That
Yeah,
was one I feel like should be across the board. Use the arrow pad. You can use specific driver one, or use the Kyle Busch bow. I feel like that should be programmed in for every driver, and then you could do driver specific celebrations. So down button could be specific driver, right button could be the bow. Um, Left button could be exit burnout mode, or up arrow could be wave to the fans type of thing or whatever.
Now, also before we leave, I want to give Jason a chance to actually weigh in on whatever he wants to weigh in on because he hasn't had a
Yes,
chance to
sorry, I
really
haven't.
talk
I've
yet.
kind of taken over.
He
Go
did.
ahead.
He did message me telling me he had quite a few things he wanted to tell us about. So I
Sorry.
want to let him have his chance to speak.
that's fair.
So the floor is yours, bud.
All right. So I just want to talk about from our experiences from Friday through Sunday at the tracks, real quick. We got to the IRP Friday morning, and my fiance and I were walking around trying to figure out where to sit. And the process, she found seats for us, and I bumped into this guy. I went to turn around to acknowledge him and apologize to him. And when he turned around to answer me apologizing to him, it was Frankie Muniz.
That's pretty cool.
I was like, "What the heck?"
Did you
He's
take a photo
short.
on either side?
I didn't even realize I was just starstruck for a minute. And I realized who it was, and I was like, "Crap, he's probably in a hurry to get in the truck." So he was real polite though. Um, we did meet a bunch of drivers. I met all of the Dodge, the Colleague racing team drivers, and I
That's
didn't
pretty
get a chance.
cool.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to meet Matt Colleague, but I did get a chance to meet Chris Wright, the CEO of Colleague, and then Ty Norris as well. So then we got our pictures with Tony Breitlinger. I got my picture of Butter Queen, just to name a few. And then at the end of the night, or towards the end of the night, I had 3 crew member hats given to me. One was from the owner of Nice Motorsports. He personally went to the trailer and got it for me and brought it back to me. The second one was Tricon Garage. And the third one was the Front Row Motorsports 38 Long John Silver's crew member hat. So
Damn. How come I don't get that lucky when I go to the track? What the hell?
you gotta follow my lead, bud. You gotta go.
I guess
All
I'm
I
too much
said,
of an asshole.
okay, I'll give you my little secret for you guys and all of our viewers. But my secret is I just walk up to a crew member and say, "Hey, I collect NASCAR hats. Do you guys have any extras by chance?" And 9 out of 10 times they'll usually take it right off their head, or they'll go back to the hauler and get one and bring it to me.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah, I got a good healthy amount of NASCAR hat collections, and I just bought a bunch of shirts on Saturday. And my fiance, she also got her some shirts, and she met SVG on Sunday morning.
See,
So
I think that's pretty sick. Getting to meet him sounds pretty cool.
yeah, she said that he was pretty nice, and she said, "You're my favorite driver," and he said, "Thank you." And I guess it made her day. So
That's
my
awesome.
assessment, right?
I
My
was looking at the
assessment,
photo. That is pretty cool.
Is he really her favorite driver, or did she just say that to make him feel good?
she really that is her favorite driver. She's liked him since her and I watched the Chicago race when he won the first Chicago race in the '91 car. because
That's
I told
pretty
people
cool.
Yeah,
not to.
I straight up tell them the truth. Like I met Casey Kane at Fremont Speedway racing a sprint car for the first time. For my first time ever meeting him, I should say. And we stood there. It was under a rain delay. It was lightning outside. It was pouring down rain. And this guy, I'm gonna tell you what, Casey Kane is a really awesome dude. I mean, I know some people. He didn't win hearts in NASCAR with a lot of people, but I'm gonna tell you what, man. If you can ever have a conversation with the guy, dude, he is so down to earth. He's so cool, man. And I asked for an autograph. He had no problem with it. Um, and shit, I looked down and I'm like, oh man, I got my Kevin Harvick shirt on. And I was like, I'm sorry about that. He goes, I don't worry about it, dude. And, he's just so cool. And he actually took the time. My dad made this sign one time at Attica Raceway Park where Casey was here racing. And it was for my stepmom's birthday. It was just a big happy birthday sign. And he asked Casey to hold it and take a picture for her because Casey was her favorite driver. And he did that before he signed any autographs. The line was just huge and backed up. And we literally told him, no, don't do it now. Let these kids and everybody here want to see you. Let them see you. We can wait. And he said, no, let's go ahead and do it now because I'll forget if I don't. But it's really awesome guy, man. I mean, he's a great guy to talk to. And I tell you what, I like having him on the dirt track side of things. He's a great ambassador for all of motorsports. So if you can ever have a conversation with Casey Kane, do so.
Heck yeah. I still remember when he won the Brickyard in 2017.
Yeah,
One
Was
I
it
want to
him?
meet someday. The one I really want to meet someday because I've heard he's pretty cool is Ryan Newman. And I don't know if you saw this, Russ, but he was at that Ward Outlaw race that you were talking about earlier. He was
he
actually
drove
in
a
the
car.
field, which was pretty wild. I didn't even think I had to take a double take. I was like, was Ryan Newman really racing in Canada? And sure enough, he was at that race, which is wild to me.
I
I
believe
would
he
have never
crashed.
thought he would have been there. Yeah, I think
I
he
believe
did
he crashed
crash.
in C Main, but hey, man, he did it. I mean, that was his first time in a sprint car, so
I mean, it ended the same way every other race did with him in the air, which is unfortunate.
Oh my.
Ah, that dude needs to put more weight in his pocket. He
well, why do
needs
you
to
think they
stop
call him
lifting off the
the Rocket
ground.
Man?
Because he's fast doesn't mean he needs to take flight.
What the hell
Him
do
and
rockets
Ryan
do?
Priest, him and Ryan Priest need to join the Air Force with their skills. They seem to fly a lot more than they race.
Oh,
I
here's
feel
another
bad for
bit.
him.
Here's another bit of news. Josh
Oh
Berry's
no.
not coming back to the 4 car either.
I think I did hear that, which is, or I thought he was in, no. Yeah, I guess he is in the 4 car. I had to think about that. I thought he was in the 21 for
Or
some reason.
or no, he left the. What the hell am I thinking? Not in the 4, the 21. Gregson's
Yeah,
in the
Gregson's
4
in the
car now.
4, and I heard Gregson's not
What the hell I
returning
was
either.
thinking?
I heard. I thought I heard Gregson's not returning. I thought.
Possibly, yeah. I don't know, but
I thought I heard something
that
about that.
someone said Gregson might actually be done for. Like
I
nobody really
heard.
wants him.
I heard rumors that Chandler Smith is going to go to the RCR. I can't see that because that's going from Ford to Chevy. But I could see Noah Gregson going from, running Chevy to running Chevy because he runs front row. I could see the Noah Gregson thing because, Bass Pro Shop. I could see that one. That would make way more sense. I'm really hoping they don't promote Austin Hill next year because he's really not that good. He's just a back marker. He's also in the way all the time. But a lot of silly season stuff. There's a lot to still be developed.
So Jason, is there anything in the IndyCar going on? I know that you watch that, which I don't follow that a bit.
The last race I watched was delayed till on Monday. They raced at Nashville Super Speedway. Alex Palou won that one. I guess it was like really hot, so they shortened the race elapsed from 300 to like 275, I believe it was. Speaking of
Oh, that's
IndyCar, um, we were walking back and forth till there's a gate or area where the NASCAR haulers park at, and there's a little fenced in area where the drivers and crews walk back and forth throughout the day at IRP. And about the time we got done getting our picture taken with Tony Breitlinger, Doug Bowles, the president of IMS, and Alex Palou and Jack Harvey walked right by us.
That's pretty cool.
So got a chance to meet a four-time IndyCar champ and then not so good driver Jack Harvey. Just saying.
hey, I got a proud moment. Nathan already knows about this, but I got a chance to tell Clint Boyer he was a douchebag.
I don't think I knew that moment. I heard about it, but I don't think I heard you say that.
No, you weren't there, but that was when I was at Bristol a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah, I did know about that. Never mind. I forgot about that. I did forget about that. I have an IndyCar question for you, Jason. What's this I hear about a new IndyCar version? Do you know anything about this yet?
I've heard a little bit about it. They're talking about like the new 2028 model, I guess, or body.
Yeah. Do you know anything about that? I haven't really heard a whole lot about it. I know they announced it, but what exactly is different from the current car to this new car?
I miss the old school body, man.
To be honest with you, there, Nathan, I have no idea. I'd have to ask my friend Michael Parker because he knows more about IndyCar than I do.
Okay, I was just curious. I know that you're a resident IndyCar guy, so that's why I figured I'd ask you first.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, I wish I had more information to tell you. Unfortunately, I don't. Sorry.
From what I saw, it looks like they just added a bunch more fins to the front wing. Like it kind of fills in the gap, but I didn't know if that makes a difference or not. I couldn't quite understand it. It's all science, too much science for me.
Same here.
Well, guys, if that's everything, I guess we'll wrap it up.
That's the longest episode we've done in quite some time. I'm liking this. Had a lot to rattle off this week.
So, despite the historic nature of Heim's victory, the most prevalent post-race discussion within the industry actually centered on the severe inability of the vehicles to pass under green flag conditions. The architecture of this next-gen car sucks, like completely sucks ass, but is specifically its aerodynamic underbody proved to be highly incompatible with the flat 90-degree corners of Indianapolis Motor Speedway. To understand the lack of passing, one must actually examine the fluid dynamics governing the next gen car's underwing. Unlike the previous Gen 6 car, which generated a lift underneath the chassis and required massive overbody spoilers to push the car down into the track, the next gen car utilizes a completely sealed underwing and a rear carbon fiber diffuser. The diffuser acts as a venturi tunnel, and as the air flows under the flat bottom of the car and reaches the expanding volume of the rear diffuser, the pressure drops rapidly, accelerating the air and sucking the car to the track's surface. The diffuser is equipped with vertical strakes that create swirling vortices, accelerating the extraction of air from beneath the car and dramatically increasing the downforce. While this system functions beautifully on high-banked intermediate tracks like Kansas Speedway, where progressive varying banking allows drivers to run multiple lines and find clean air in different grooves, it fails critically on flat, single-groove tracks like Indianapolis. When a trailing car enters a flat corner directly behind a leading car, the leading car's diffuser ejects a massive wake of turbulent, low-pressure, dirty air directly to the nose of the trailing car. Because the trailing car relies on a steady stream of clean, high-pressure air actually entering its front splitter to feed its own underbody venturi system, The absence of this air causes the trailing car's front tires to lose mechanical grip instantaneously. This results in a severe aero push, forcing the trailing driver to lift off the throttle to actually avoid hitting the outside wall. This aerodynamic reality dictated the entirety of the Brickyard 400. Once the driver established the lead on a restart and secured clean air, the trailing cars were physically incapable of navigating the corners closely enough to actually execute a pass on the ensuing straightaways, regardless of tire wear advantages or engine horsepower. The industry reaction and proposed solutions, though, well, the frustration within the garage area was actually palpable. Two-time series champion Joey Logano, actually three-time, I believe, bluntly summarized the situation, stating that we can't do it. We can't get close enough to make a move. You get stuck. A multiple groove track is necessary. This one doesn't have that. Logano suggested that an Xfinity/O'Reilly Series style aerodynamic package, which relies heavily on mechanical grip over body side drafting rather than underbody downforce, would be required to fix the racing product at Indianapolis. Former driver and broadcaster Kenny Wallace actually proposed a retro-engineered solution, referencing the aerodynamic devices used during the 2000 season at Talladega Superspeedway. Wallace suggested equipping the next-gen cars with a gurney flap on the rear spoiler and a wicker bill across the roof, specifically for the Indianapolis configuration. The gurney flap, well, it was invented by racing legend Dan Gurney. This is a small, perpendicular lip attached to the trailing edge of the rear spoiler. It increases pressure on the top side of the spoiler, drastically increasing drag and punching a much larger, cleaner hole in the air for the trailing cars to draft in. The wicker bill, it's a vertical strip placed on the roof line that further disrupts the air traveling over the greenhouse of the car, augmenting the drafting effect. By intentionally creating more drag on the upper body of the car, Wallace argues that NASCAR could allow trailing cars to generate massive momentum in the draft on the long Indianapolis straightaways. This would allow them to actually pull out and complete a pass before the aerodynamic push destroys handling in the corners. The aerodynamic debate highlights a fundamental paradox in modern motorsports engineering, as NASCAR engineers optimize the next-gen car to be aerodynamically efficient and generate downforce independently of the car's yaw angle, a safety measure which actually was implemented to prevent cars from lifting during high-speed spins, which apparently didn't work. They inadvertently engineered a vehicle that creates an impenetrable aerodynamic wake on flat circuits. Fixing this issue will likely require NASCAR to abandon the one-size-fits-all aerodynamic philosophy and develop a track-specific underbody configuration for flat, high-speed ovals like Indianapolis. Potential solutions may include reducing the efficiency of the rear diffuser strakes or raising the ride height to shift the aerodynamic balance back toward mechanical tire grip. But the convergence of the events between our last episode and this episode actually reveals several overarching themes defining the current state of American motorsports. The rise of the simulator generation. Now, the high-profile victories by Corey Heim, Carson Kvapil, and Gio Scelzi in high-limit racing on the sprint car and dirt side underscore a massive generational and developmental shift. These drivers have honored their racecraft not just through traditional seat time, but also through rigorous, data-driven simulator training. This virtual experience allows them to adapt to high-stakes environments, whether managing the turbulent air of a cup car at Indianapolis or ripping the lip in a 410 sprint car at Port Royal Speedway, with unprecedented speed, mind you. Heim's ability to defensively mirror drive and block a veteran like Christopher Bell at Indy is a direct testament to modern telemetry and simulation analysis. The capitalization of dirt racing, while Spire Motorsports winning a $100,000 to win high-limit racing event, represents a distinct paradigm shift. Traditional dirt track racing has been dominated by specialized family-owned operations. The The influx of NASCAR series, Cup Series ownerships groups actually into the sprint car world brings advanced engineering, robust corporate sponsorship frameworks, and data analytics that are rapidly raising the stakes financially and competitive floor of the sport. The dichotomy of the racing product, though, well, the week provided a stark contrast in entertainment value and vehicle dynamics. At regional tracks like Attica Raceway Park and historic venues like Port Royal Speedway, fans witnessed slide jobs, wheel banging, and multi-groove racing dictated by driver throttle control and tire wear. Conversely, the Brickyard 400, while strategically fascinating, was hampered by fluid dynamics and computational fluid dynamics. That engineering actually made organic passing nearly impossible. So this dichotomy actually places NASCAR in a precarious position as it seeks to balance the aesthetic purity of auto racing with the safety and technology mandates of the 21st century. But the Motorsports Week of late July 2026 served as a perfect microcosm of the industry's current trajectory. From the local dirt tracks across northern Ohio, where drivers like Brian Sabito and Devin Shields battle for regional supremacy and local pride, to the grueling travel schedules of the World of Outlaws and High Limit Racing Tours, dirt track racing is experiencing a commercial and competitive renaissance. Meanwhile, on the pavement, the NASCAR Cup Series continues to grapple with the double-edged sword of engineering, and the sport rightly celebrated a historic youth-driven upset by Corey Heim and a life-changing $1 million payday for Todd Gilliland, while simultaneously facing existential questions about aerodynamic parity and the quality of the on-track product. As the various series push towards their respective autumn playoffs, the data, points, and momentum generated during this critical midsummer stretch will undoubtedly dictate the crowning of the 2026 champions. But that's going to wrap up this episode. And don't forget, we bring you recaps, breakdowns, and all those adrenaline-packed moments every week. Whether you live for those sideways mudslinging dirt track sliders or the door-banging, paint-trading action in NASCAR, you belong here. Hit that subscribe button now so you never miss a finish. And until next time, keep switching grooves. I'm Russ Fritz.
And I'm Nathan Johns.
And I'm Jason Schweitzer.
We're telling you to race hard.
Stay safe.
And we'll see you there. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.